and thanks to Sandy, Kathy, and Dom for putting on the presentation. So my name is Abhi, and I'm a founder and CEO of FarmHand, where we're building smart technology to improve not only irrigation delivery, but irrigation access. We are UK based with our headquarters, but we have a regional office in South India. And as you can see the photos here, most of our operations are in India. And we have worked on the Refruit project with the team in East Africa, and we're working with Amiran and Lorenz in Kenya as well. Next slide, please, Kathy. So a little bit about FarmHand. Our vision is to empower the farmer economically, socially, and environmentally, and be a software and data analytics platform to make their farm insights usable and accessible by different stakeholders in the agriculture ecosystem. So I think this is really coming from a lot of challenges that we spoke about in the previous session about data not being visible to different stakeholders and different stakeholders not having the right incentive structure. We are looking to come in and work as a farm analytics provider on the technology side to improve access. So just a quick plan for the talk. I would like to speak about irrigation and how that fits in with the farm priorities for the farmer. And then smart irrigation, what is that? And what are we doing in India and any opportunities in East Africa? And then before irrigation itself, actually working on smart surveying and to improve the take-up of irrigation in an effective manner. And I'd be glad to answer questions later. Thanks, Kathy. So we have discussed in the previous slide and in our breakout room as well that the farmer's plight is very varied. We spoke about irrigation as a potential solution to what the farmer faces, but they're facing lack of access to market. They have lack of access to information in general about agri-inputs, about farming practices. One of them being lack of access to information about irrigation, lack of access to financial services, whether it's for agriculture or even for the children's education, lack of access to quality inputs, and lack of access to machines and labor. So when we speak about irrigation, we talk about increasing yield, reducing crop loss, mitigating climate risk, mitigating labor, and that's great. And we all know how beneficial that can be for the farmer. However, it may not be the first and foremost issue for the farmer, and it may need to be coupled with addressing other aspects that the farmer requires. And this is where I would really want to focus in on smart in this context. Smart for us is digitally enabled or internet connected information and services that can help us provide a holistic offering to the farmer and provide right time, right advice for the farmer, depending on wherever they are in their complexity of the farm or financial scenario. So this is a picture just to show that with our smart irrigation, providing right time, right volume irrigation advice to the farmer, we've done this on several crops, and we see that we can improve yields on top of what irrigation can actually improve for farmers if we provide them the right advice to help them irrigate effectively. This is a sugarcane crop, and you see the manual irrigated bed by the farmer on the right-hand side and irrigated by our technology on the left-hand side. We saw a yield increase of 61%. I'll tell you how that happens. Next slide, please. So what is smart irrigation? Essentially, we can think of it as right volume of water at the right time. There are different ways of doing it. I'm sure you may have heard of soil moisture sensors being used to understand when to trigger irrigation, and then the pump being wired to the soil moisture probe and delivering irrigation in that manner. However, that's just one method of applying smart irrigation. What we do in a non-sensor based approach that is low cost and effective for farmers, smallholder farmers, is that we understand where the farm is, the latitude, longitude of the farm, and forecast the weather for their specific farm. And we work out evapotranspiration for that area, and we understand the crop requirements as well. So for example, if you are growing sugarcane on clay soil, you have a specific requirement for water in the first growth stage, in the second growth stage, so forth and so on. And the evapotranspiration helps us understand how much water the crop will gain or lose in day 2 or day 3, and we can provide efficient irrigation schedules on that basis. Next slide, please, Kathy. The benefits are stark. The reality, and we know this, that the farmer is a multidimensional person or family or unit. And they are not just working on the farm, they are having to go to the village, they're having to take care of the kids. And because of labor constraints, power constraints, they are unable to give irrigation at the right time. And with advisory or even with automation of irrigation, you can mitigate this. You can help them increase the output from a unit of land and devote much less labor to that. So you can see again, this is on the left-hand side manually irrigated, and on the right-hand side irrigated by FarmHand. Okay, next slide, please. So how are we doing this? Now, this is what I'm going to go ahead and describe what we're doing in India. It very well is more complicated than what we would propose in East Africa because of where the farmers are. But I'm going to go ahead and just describe that to showcase the extent of what is possible. So we provide the farmer and farming organizations or off-takers or aggregators an interface that is free of cost. Next slide, please, Kathy. And after collecting basic farm data, such as walking around and understanding the field corners, what crop is growing, we correlate that with the satellite data. And we then have the farm geotagged. We can do localized weather forecasting. We can understand the irrigation scheduling for that specific farm. And at that period in time, in India, we provide advice through an app to the farmer that gives them schedules for the next day. It's free right now. And the other thing that we provide to the farmers in India is we have our own automation system that can be plugged into their irrigation system that enables these schedules to be delivered directly to the pump, and the farmer does not have to be on the field. Now, our whole approach is to make sure that the farmer is at their center of all of these operations, and through the app, they're able to provide feedback to us as well as control the pump on and off. They could be in the village and they can say, the irrigation has been going on for an hour, I want to stop it now. I do not trust FarmHand system, that's okay, they have complete control. And the idea is that we would learn from their feedback and make sure that our irrigation systems are catered for that specific farm, for that specific crop type. And I think the next part's really important here. After we've done this, and we are then able to provide very good knowledge and information almost at real time as we are monitoring via satellite, information that can be used with irrigation providers, by off-takers and aggregators, by crop insurers, by local government, by agri-input companies. And the information, the information that we would generate at the farm level can be used for much more efficient targeting. So if the farmer indicates that, or we understand that they've lost their crop several times because of climatic conditions, this could be a way for the insurer to then target effectively. Because lack of information, as we have all said in the previous session, is the #1 problem in the agriculture ecosystem, not just the farmer. And another really interesting point, which was raised by Mr. Alfred, was the long timescales it takes to actually set up an irrigation system for a farm. And the data that we would be able to provide to the government and local authorities would help allocate the funds in a much more effective and efficient manner. Because 12 months is simply, or I think it was 9 months, it was saying on average, to set up an irrigation system is definitely a long time for the farmer. So that is our approach. And we're working quite effectively with off-takers and aggregators and irrigation providers in India. Next slide, please. Really briefly, not going into too much detail, but this is our app on the left-hand side. As you can see, we have some weather forecasts that are provided at the top. We provide them. This is the automated hardware that is put in their pump house that controls the pump. And you can see the irrigation episodes on the left-hand side, the crops on the fields, when the pump is on, when the pump is off, how much water is delivered in minutes as well as liters. And on the right-hand side, you can see the data analytics that we then provide for the off-taker, which we can also provide for the local government and other stakeholders. So we can provide the off-taker with where the farms are located, satellite insights. Obviously, there would be a table to showcase, okay, look, this part of the field is not growing as well as other parts of the field. And we can provide them when was irrigation delivered, what is the temperature and humidity and other readings at the farm level. And very interestingly, we can have customized alerts. And this is what the organizations that we're partnering with are asking for now is, look, we are growing potato. We are the experts. I mean, the off-takers are the experts in growing potato. And they know that towards the end of the crop cycle, they want to stress the plant. They want to reduce the water that is given to the plant. So they're asking us to provide alerts when the crop reaches day 60, day 70 of its crop cycle. Or they want us to give alerts of the local weather forecast has been exceptionally high or above 40 degrees Celsius in this particular location for 3 days in a row. And that would then trigger their extension workers to provide the right support to their farmers. Moving to the next slide, please. So then what did we do in Uganda? Because the Ugandan climate is obviously very different. Well, what we did is we connected our system with Future Pump's pump, and we provided SMSs, daily SMSs to the farmer that would tell them you should be setting up your pump in the morning at this particular time and irrigating for 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever the specific criteria was for their crop. The farmers would then go and follow the schedule, and they would irrigate effectively, and we have seen significant improvements in their yield. Kathy, yeah, if you could just press that one more time, please. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, for the off-taker, for GADC, we have not made a dashboard yet, because it would be a very different dashboard than what we'd be using in India. But we are then also able to provide all the farms that have been surveyed for them in a format that would be usable for better farm management, as well as understanding which farms have smart irrigation, which farms are yet to be surveyed, and all this information can be stored for the off-taker. So moving on to the next slide, Kathy. So all of this is well and good, but we have to understand what is practical and feasible at the ground. I'm sure there are experts on this panel, in this group right now, which will say, okay, well, this will not work in my area. This will not work in this area in Tanzania, and that's fine. But we can understand what can work. So automatic irrigation is definitely limited in East Africa because of low willingness to pay for hardware. If willingness to pay for irrigation itself is low, then automation on top of that will be low. There is a lack of fixed irrigation delivery systems. So our system will work best when you have inline drip or fixed sprinkler on the ground, and you don't have to move it, and we can control it effectively. But the most important barrier actually is the connectivity that we would have at the farm level. Internet of Things systems will not be effective if we are having variable mobile connectivity. However, that's not to say that advisory and connectivity of the ecosystem is still not valued. All of the farmers that we worked with appreciated the texts that they would get and helped them plan their day. This gave them a best practice guide as they transitioned from rain-fed farming to irrigated farming. The irrigation schedules are given through SMSs, and we believe that they have boosted yield and can lower resource usage for many of the farmers that have solar pumps and are simply irrigating for hours on end. And now, as the solar pump market is matured, we see more of an emphasis on using water effectively rather than deploying solar pumps without best practices. So, well, let's go beyond that then. So that's for the farmer, but the approach that we see could work is that the off-taker helps go to the farms and does a farm survey that will enable them to get a database of the farms geotagged and understand what they're growing. We can then provide farmers daily weather forecasts and irrigation schedules, which they benefit from. This improves yield, and we can also help the access for that farmer and the off-taker to the market to enable agri-inputs such as finance, seeds effectively, because we would understand at that period in time when a crop is ending, what crops they're growing, what has the farmer faced, is if the farmer has lost their crop, and understanding all that data such that there's a better effectiveness. For the farmer, we see and we hope that there will be reduced labor, water, and energy usage, which in time, communities will start to face the brunt of resource usage if that is not being monitored at this stage. Okay, Kathy, next slide, please. So now the next section, I want to speak about smart surveying. So the previous section was just about right time, right volume irrigation and what are the benefits. And I'm quite frank in saying right now we're looking at much more advisory approach in East Africa for right time, right volume irrigation rather than automation. But smart surveying is something definitely we could start very soon in East Africa in the same way that would work in India. So you can see here on this photo, one of GADC's extension workers had gone to a farm and simply mapped out the farm. And what we got from this was, I think an hour-ish of a survey where they went to the field or the crop gardens, as it's called around GADC. They went to each corner, they pressed the button on their phone for the latitude, longitude points, and they went to the water source, they went to any shade-free area and any other key points that were asked. And they also asked the farmer about what they're growing and few other details that were not difficult for the extension worker or the farmer to obtain. Next slide, please, Kathy. So it's a one-time survey that we expect to get done, and this would be catered to the specific off-taker. So you can see some screenshots of the survey that was used. We asked for what are the crops grown. We asked for water information. Where is the water source? They went to the water source and clicked the button for the latitude, longitude. We asked for field information, dimensions, and the dimensions don't have to be known. You simply go to the field and you go to each corner and you click a button and we can get the distances, we can get elevation. And we asked about power. Is grid connectivity close by? Is solar, is there an option for solar? Do you have a solar home system? And we got that information. And allowing this not just enables better data collation or smarter data collation, but we can then correlate that with satellite technology, which is getting higher and higher resolution year on year. Okay, next slide, please. So what are the benefits for this? Well, for the off-taker, we see that it benefits them in geotagging and managing their farms. The farmers are then registered. They would have a phone number, whether it's through a feature phone or through a smartphone, that has been taken with details about their farms, and we can provide them direct advice. Again, it doesn't have to be smart irrigation. It could also be access to microinsurance. It could be access to inputs. But the point is that we are taking their farm details, their specific farm details, and making that data accessible in whatever way they are looking for. And then thirdly, and very relevant to this, this whole workshop, is of course that allowing this would enable us to understand which irrigation system is viable for that particular farm. Maybe all of them are viable, but what are the potential cost benefits for the specific farm? And we can do this because we understand the crops that are grown. Therefore, what is the most water hungry crop? We understand elevations in the farm. We understand distances, and we can present a report to the off-taker or to the farmer that talks about these different irrigation options and makes them aware of the options that are present. And importantly, can link them to the local distributors or the local organizations responsible for distribution. So we see high potential in this. Yeah, Kathy, sorry, just the last point on that slide. If you could just go back. Yeah, is local governments and donors can use this system, this coalition, to track where money is going in, which farmers are being targeted, why are certain farmers being targeted over others. Maybe there's a farm here which has a much lower cost than another, and will enable you to allocate resources more effectively. You can see on the bottom right-hand side the kind of field resolutions that we get from satellites. Let's go into the next slide, please, Kelly. So, sorry about this slide. This was it was put on as a analysis to, a mock analysis to the smart surveying that has been done with GADC's farmers. So with this knowledge, just the type of data that we get is the distances from water sources to different fields. We get the elevation, we get the water source type, and obviously we will also want to ask for what is the depth of the water source during the dry season. And from this, we can generate the analysis for irrigation, for the irrigation system appropriate for that farm. We can look at a solar pump with hose. What would that cost? Solar pump with sprinkler. And importantly, we would be able to give local pricing and local recommendation. Now, this is just a mock, so the costs are not accurate to this stage, as we have not engaged with solar now. But with the details that we have, we can then give them a transparent description of the different options, including treadle pumps, ranging up all the way to fixed drip. Move on to the next slide, Kathy. So again, there are limitations and there are opportunities. And the limitations here are that smart surveying for us is a smartphone only approach, and that smartphones have not, though increasing very rapidly, have not taken over with all the farmers at this stage. However, that is still okay, as we believe that it's the off-taker that would be incentivized to do the geotagging and the initial farm surveying. And the extension workers of off-takers are more likely to have the smartphones in the first place. Just 5 of GADC's extension workers surveyed 40 farms within about a week. And from that information, we are able to get the farms geotagged as shown, irrigation viability, and tentative cost assessed. There will, of course, be certain costs that we'll only be able to see when the irrigation distributors go to the farm. But it enables that access to information. It enables that raising of awareness that we know is a high barrier to the take-up of irrigation. So another potential flow that we've looked at in this project is the off-taker providing one-time farm survey and us providing a farm analysis report to the farmer and the off-taker. allowing them to reply back with any particular option that they may be interested in. This is different. We can provide the advisory as well on top, but the farmer may, after a month, say, I am interested in a solar pump with sprinklers. And in that period in time, the distributor would be then engaged to follow up with the farmer and deliver that particular option. And I think part of the discussion that we will be having is about changing the incentive structure such that it is easier for the farmer to to understand the options and to get transparency in some of these discussions. As we all know, it is a very difficult decision to make those big upfront decisions about cost, and all transparency and awareness of the information beforehand is something that we believe the farmer has a right to know. Next slide, please, Kelly. So that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Abhi. I think we have a couple of questions in the chat. So the first one's quite straightforward, is Mweni Chimbwa, who asks, is there a limit to the farm size or growing plot size beyond which FarmHand will not work?
Yeah, so we can provide irrigation schedules for any plot size. All we need to know is the dimensions of the plot, the plant spacing, and what crop you're growing. And right now we're estimating, so we're asking if it's clay, loam, and we have very basic analysis for soil. I think it's very important. There are a lot of crop scientists and agronomists that may be on this call. We are not trying to get 100% efficiency in our irrigation scheduling. We're looking to provide them as an irrigation schedule to help them transition from rain-fed to an irrigated farm. And eventually we hope that they can make that irrigation schedule their own, using it as a baseline and providing whatever they'd like on top. So that's the answer to irrigation scheduling. Now, some of the satellite insights that we can derive are limited in the farm size that we see. The resolutions that we get from the satellite is about 100-meter squared resolutions. So some of these plots will be lower than that. So some of the satellite-based insights will be limited, but that's okay because satellite provides us that extra level of insights, but you can still provide irrigation scheduling, farm surveying with the baseline data.
Thanks, Abhi. I think we have two quick questions. The first one is slightly more technical from Abraham Solomon at UC Davis, who asks, what resolution of daily weather data does FarmHand have in East Africa? And is this data spatially interpolated or based on measurements at the same resolution?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we do is that we have some clever machine learning and artificial intelligence to triangulate weather forecasts in a specific area that are provided by public domain weather forecast systems. So for example, ClimaCell or Dark Sky. We use their information, which may be at the nearest town or nearest city level, and we triangulate that for the specific latitude and longitude. That provides us higher accuracy than those public domain, which are not for that specific farm. Then on top of that, if we do have weather sensors at the farm, and for the East African context, I am saying that it should not be recommended or necessary for the farm to actually have weather sensors because of the cost and the technical complexity. But in some Indian farm context and in some of the bigger farms in Uganda or in East Africa, the farmer may wish to have additional weather sensors, which then are used as a reinforced learning tool to increase the accuracy for that specific farm as well.
Okay. And we have one last question here, which follows on from that, I think, is how does the system know how much rain is actually fallen on a particular farm rather than what the weather app has predicted? Yeah. So rain forecasting is of course very difficult. And what we tell the farmer is that when there is rain, you simply give us a command. You SMS back to a toll-free number saying 1, and the irrigation system would then know that there is rain and it would stop. We are forecasting on the irrigation scheduling, so it's not going to be 100% accurate at all.
but we expect the farmer to be that sensor on the ground, which is saying, okay, it's rain. It's a binary sensor, essentially saying it's rain. Stop the irrigation scheduling for today. And with solar pumps, it wouldn't even work when it's raining.
Okay, thank you. So if there's any more questions, I did see one pop up there. Maybe Abhi can jump in